In a desolate hospital, Jimin awakens and Jungkook is there. The secret of the 24-hour guard is finally revealed. "Don't move. He's watching us," Jungkook whispered, his hand tightening around the scalpel, blood dripping down his temple. The room was soaked in dim, sterile light, flickering from an overhead panel that buzzed like a dying insect. The hospital was dead. Not empty, dead. Walls crumbled like bones long forgotten, gurneys rusted and overturned, the air reeking of iodine and rot. In the heart of this decaying maze, Jimin awoke on a narrow cot, sweat dampening the thin gown clinging to his frame. His breath hitched as the ceiling blurred in and out of focus. He didn't know where he was. More terrifyingly, he didn't know who he was. Then he saw Jungkook, leaning against the doorway like a shadow peeled from the darkness, his black hoodie torn at the shoulder, revealing a tattoo snaking down his arm like a warning. His eyes were wild and sleepless, but there was something in them, relief, regret, or was it fear? "You're awake," Jungkook said, his voice gravel and smoke. "Who are you?" Jimin rasped. The silence stretched too long. "I've been watching over you for 24 days, non-stop," Jungkook finally said. "You weren't supposed to wake up, not yet." Jimin sat up too fast. Pain shot through his skull like broken glass grinding behind his eyes. Images, fractured and fleeting, flashed in his mind. Red lights, a scream, a fall, then a void. The floor beneath the cot was stained with something dark, too dark to be old blood, too thick to be paint. He swung his legs over the side, cold bit into his bare feet. "This place," Jimin murmured, his voice laced with unease. "It's abandoned." "Not entirely," Jungkook replied, gaze darting to the shadows. "There are things here that don't like the light." Before Jimin could ask what he meant, the hallway outside echoed with the distant sound of wheels, metal dragging over tile. A gurney, slowly, as if someone or something was pushing it with no urgency, no humanity. The sound stopped, then reversed. Jimin's breath caught. "What is that?" Jungkook moved to the door, pressing his back against it, listening. "They're early," he muttered, more to himself than to Jimin. He turned sharply, eyes locking on Jimin. "You need to remember, fast, they'll come for you now." Jimin shook his head, panic rising. "What are you talking about? Who's coming?" Jungkook's jaw tightened. "You weren't just in a coma, you were hiding. They've been looking for you since the day the hospital fell." Jimin's heartbeat slammed in his chest. "Fell?" He gripped the edge of the cot to steady himself. "Why me? What did I do?" Jungkook looked at him, and in his gaze was a flicker of something deeper than fear, something ancient and worn. "You opened the wrong door," he whispered. Before Jimin could question further, the lights overhead went out with a static pop. Total blackness. The air went cold. Then came the low, wet sound of breathing, just outside the room. Jimin froze. Jungkook's fingers brushed his arm. "Don't move, don't speak. They hunt sound, and they remember your voice." Jimin closed his eyes, his body trembling. What was this place? What had he done? Why couldn't he remember the door Jungkook spoke of? And yet, somewhere in the back of his mind, beneath the fog of confusion and fear, something stirred. A scream. A blade. And a promise. The darkness whispered, and in that whisper a name. His. Jimin. And then something else. A voice from memory, barely audible, Jungkook's voice. "If you wake up, I won't leave your side. Not again, no matter what you remember." But memory is a dangerous thing when it hides the truth. And the truth was coming. With metal wheels and breath like death. "You lied to me," Jimin hissed, his voice shaking as the emergency backup light cast Jungkook's face in a red hue, like something out of a fever dream. Jungkook didn't flinch. He just stood there, unmoving, as if absorbing the weight of Jimin's accusation was easier than explaining himself. "You said you were protecting me," Jimin continued, stepping forward. "But you didn't mention I was being hunted by, whatever that thing was out there. You didn't say I was the reason this hospital turned into a tomb." Jungkook's expression darkened. "You weren't supposed to wake up, not yet." "What does that even mean?" Jimin shoved him, Jungkook staggered but didn't retaliate. His silence was more violent than any words. Outside the door, silence had returned. The sound of the gurney had ceased, but something lingered in the air, like breath held too long. Jimin's voice cracked as he asked, "What did I do?" "You opened the door, Jimin. The one in Ward C, room 309. The one that was sealed for a reason." "I don't remember." "You will." Jimin clenched his fists, wanting to scream. "Why were you here? Who even are you to me? You've been guarding me, watching me sleep for days, weeks. What kind of obsession is that?" Jungkook's gaze didn't waver. "I owed you." "For what?" "You took the fall." Jimin stared, unable to process the words. "Took the fall for what?" "For all of us," Jungkook said quietly. "But the others, they're all dead now." Jimin's knees weakened. He collapsed onto the cold floor, hands gripping his hair. The memories were clawing at the edges of his consciousness like rats in the walls. But they were jumbled, erratic, faces without names, screams without voices, blood without reason. "What was behind that door, Jungkook?" he whispered. Jungkook hesitated for the first time. His lips parted, but no sound came. Finally, he knelt beside Jimin, his voice low, almost reverent. "We thought it was a storage room. During the storm, when the power went out, the alarms were all screaming. No staff, no order, just chaos. You were the one who found the hidden keypad behind the old MRI machine. You typed the code. You opened it." And Jimin's eyes were wide, desperate. "It wasn't a room. It was a vault, not for things, for something. It was watching us before we even saw it." "What was it?" Jimin breathed. Jungkook looked up at the ceiling, the red light casting shadows that danced like flames. "A patient that didn't die, one that couldn't." Jimin's skin prickled. "That's impossible." "No, what's impossible is that you looked it in the eye and it chose to let you live. Not the others, just you." Jimin's breath was ragged. "Why me?" "Because you're like it now." Jimin backed away from him, heart thudding in his ears. No, you're wrong." "You didn't wake up from a coma, Jimin. You came back." Suddenly, a crackling sound burst from the intercom above. Static hissed, then a voice, distorted, almost childlike, began to hum a lullaby. Jimin's body tensed. "That song," he whispered. Jungkook nodded slowly. "It always plays before it appears." The hallway lights blinked once. Twice. Then something screamed. Not a human scream, it was wet, hollow, hungry. Jungkook grabbed Jimin's arm. "We have to move, now." They ran through the corridor, their footsteps echoing off walls lined with peeling paint and rusted nameplates. The emergency light flickered violently. Jimin could feel it closing in, the presence, as if the air itself recoiled from whatever stalked them. As they turned a corner, Jimin suddenly froze. A mirror. For a second, he saw himself, but the reflection didn't blink when he did. It smiled. Then it winked. Jimin staggered back, horrified. "What's wrong?" Jungkook asked, breathless. I saw something, in the mirror, me, but not me." Jungkook's face twisted. "It's getting stronger." Jimin grabbed Jungkook by the collar. "What aren't you telling me?" Jungkook pulled away, his voice sharp. "You think I'm the one with all the answers. I've been surviving, watching you, guarding you, fighting off what's left of the orderlies, the nurses who never left, even after death. They're dead. They don't know they are. That's the horror of this place." Jimin swallowed bile. "Why didn't you leave?" he asked softly. Jungkook's eyes glistened. "Because I couldn't abandon you again." The words hit like a punch. "Again." Jimin searched his face. "What are you saying?" "You were my best friend," Jungkook said, "and I betrayed you." Jimin staggered back. "What?" "I let you open the door. I encouraged you. We wanted to expose what the hospital was hiding. But when it all went wrong, I ran. You stayed. You tried to close it." The floor groaned beneath them. From above, something dripped. Blood, no source. Jimin looked up. "Nothing." He turned to Jungkook. "We need to end this." Jungkook nodded. "Room 309. I'll go, Jimin said. Alone. The hell you will. If I did this, I have to fix it. Jungkook reached out, grabbing his hand. If you go in, I go with you. Jimin looked down at their joined hands. Then he nodded. Somewhere behind them, a lullaby played again. This time slower, off-key, wrong. Jimin whispered, "Let's finish what we started." And together, they walked toward the room that never should have been opened. Do you feel it too? Jimin asked, voice hoarse as they approached the hallway leading toward C. Jungkook nodded once, his shoulders rigid, hand hovering near the hidden pocket where he kept the scalpel. Like the walls are breathing. The corridor ahead of them looked different now. The flickering red emergency lights had faded into a dusky blue, the air almost viscous, thick like syrup, humming with a low vibration that pulsed in time with Jimin's heartbeat. Every door along the hallway had been sealed shut. Not with locks, but welded metal plates and deep scratch marks gouged into them from the inside. None of this makes sense, Jimin muttered. It was never meant to, Jungkook replied. They didn't build this hospital to save people. They built it to contain something. Then why the hell was I ever admitted here? Jungkook looked at him, guilt painting shadows under his eyes. Because I brought you here. Jimin stopped. What? You trusted me. I begged you to help me expose what they were doing in this hospital. You thought you were doing something noble, rescuing patients, whistleblowing corruption. You didn't know I was already in too deep. I was being paid. I let you walk into this with no clue what was buried in the walls. You opened the vault because I put the code in your hands. Jimin's jaw clenched. So all of this, all of them dying, was because I trusted you. I know, Jungkook said quietly. And I've tried to make it right every day since, but there's no redemption here, only choices and consequences. You were supposed to be my brother, Jimin said, eyes glassy with fury. You were the only person I trusted. I still am, Jungkook whispered. No, Jimin replied coldly. You're just the last one left. They stood in silence outside room 309. It was unassuming, the paint peeling, the door handle rusted to near decay. But something radiated from the other side. Not heat, not cold, something older than either, as if time itself bent around this room. Jimin reached out. Don't, Jungkook said, stepping between him and the door. Once we go in, there's no turning back. Jimin raised his chin. Then stay behind if you're scared. Jungkook didn't move. The handle screeched as Jimin turned it. A gust of air hissed outward, damp, heavy, like the breath of something just awakened. Inside, the room was circular. Unlike any other part of the hospital, walls made of dark stone, ancient symbols etched into them, pulsing faintly as if alive. At the center of the room, a chair bolted to the floor. Straps broken. Bloodstains, decades old. And scrawled across the walls, written over and over again in different handwritings. Don't speak the name. Jimin felt a chill pass through his spine. I've been here before, he said. Yes, Jungkook said, and you spoke it. A memory exploded in Jimin's mind. The cold metal of the chair beneath him, his wrists strapped down. A man in a white coat saying, "You're the only one who can contain it, Park Jimin, but you have to say its name." And then he had. He had said it. He didn't remember the sound, but he remembered the moment everything shattered. Jimin staggered back, clutching his head. What did I do? You named it, that gave it form. From the corner of the room, a voice whispered, echoing off every surface. Do you remember me now? The shadows coalesced. A figure emerged. It looked like Jimin, but taller, paler, eyes too wide, a smile too long. Veins pulsing black beneath translucent skin. Jungkook drew the scalpel, hand shaking. Stay behind me. The figure grinned. The liar still plays night, sweet. Jimin stepped forward, breath shallow. What are you? I'm what you let in. I didn't mean to. But you did. You were curious, brave, foolish, just like every human who ever thought they could control what they didn't understand. You killed them, Jimin said, trembling. All of them. No, it said, cocking its head. You did. I just helped you finish what you started. Jungkook lunged forward with the blade, slashing across its throat. Nothing. The figure didn't flinch. Instead, it whispered, Jungkook still clings to guilt like a child to a burning toy. Then it raised one pale finger and flicked it toward Jungkook. Jungkook flew across the room and crashed against the wall, coughing blood. Stop, Jimin screamed. You created me, Jimin. You birthed me with your voice. Do you know what that means? No. It means you're the only one who can destroy me. The figure stepped closer, face inches from Jimin's, the room trembling. But it will cost you everything. Memory, identity, him. Jimin looked at Jungkook, broken and bleeding. You said I'm like you now, Jimin whispered. The creature nodded. Then if I'm like you, Jimin growled, I don't need to destroy you. He stepped into the circle, his skin prickled, his veins burned, but the creature recoiled. You're bluffing. No, Jimin said, eyes glowing faintly now. I'm containing you. The air trembled violently. Screams echoed from the very walls. Jungkook looked up, eyes wide. No, Jimin, stop. If you do this, you'll be trapped with it. Jimin looked back at him, smiling softly. Then stay and guard me, like you promised. Jungkook reached out, but the circle closed. The door slammed. And room 309 fell silent once again. Only now, someone was singing the lullaby from inside. You said you wouldn't leave me. Jungkook's scream cracked through the silence, fists pounding against the sealed door of room 309. You promised. No answer. Only the low, distorted hum of the lullaby slipping out from the cracks beneath the door. It was slower now, the notes bending unnaturally, as if time on the other side of the door no longer followed the same rules. The hall had fallen into stillness again, but Jungkook could feel it, the ripple, the shift. Something fundamental had changed. He slid down the wall opposite the cursed room, his body aching, his vision blurred by the blood seeping from the gash on his forehead. Damn you, Jimin, he whispered. Why the hell would you trade yourself for this? A voice echoed in his memory. Jimin's voice, soft and almost amused. Then stay and guard me, like you promised. Jungkook cursed under his breath. He wanted to break the door open, tear it apart with his bare hands if needed. But whatever had sealed that room was beyond metal and wood. It pulsed with something ancient, unforgiving, divine even in its cruelty. And then, without warning, the lullaby stopped. A gasp came from inside, not the creature, not something monstrous, but human, familiar. Jungkook. He froze. It was Jimin's voice. Jimin. He was on his feet again in a flash, palms flat against the door. Jimin, I'm here, open the door, tell me what's happening in there. There was a pause, a stifled breath. I don't know how long I can hold it, Jimin said. It's not just a presence. Jungkook, it's me, it's every thought I buried, every fear, every rage I never spoke aloud. It's feeding off me, becoming me. No, don't say that. You're stronger than it. You're still you. Listen to me, Jimin, look at the floor, the walls, remember who you are. You're Park Jimin, the one who risked everything to fix this place. You're the one who stayed behind when everyone else ran. You ran too, Jimin said, voice sharp, but not cruel, just honest. You left me strapped to the chair while the thing stared into my soul. I came back, Jungkook shouted. I fought to get back to you every goddamn day. I haven't slept, I haven't eaten, I haven't breathed without wondering if you were still in there. Silence. Then a soft, bitter laugh. Why did you come back? Jungkook's breath hitched. Because I never stopped loving you. The hallway seemed to recoil from his words, a sudden creaking in the ceiling above. Dust fell from the tiles like ash. The hospital didn't like that word. Maybe it never had. On the other side, Jimin was quiet. Then, you should have said it before I died. You didn't die. You think this is life? Jimin laughed, voice rising now, almost manic. I'm holding something inside me that's not meant to be held. I feel it crawling through my memories, wearing my skin, learning how to speak like me. Then fight it, Jungkook begged. You're not alone, I'm still here. I can't tell what's mine anymore, Jimin whispered. My thoughts, my voice, my dreams, they're his now. Jungkook pressed his forehead to the door, eyes brimming. Then I'll find a way to share the burden. A low growl emerged from the walls themselves, shaking the floor. The temperature dropped. You would break yourself for me? Jimin's voice asked, but it wasn't just his. There was another tone beneath it, deeper, layered like a second skin. Jungkook didn't hesitate. Yes. Then prove it. The door handle twitched. Slowly it turned. Light spilled out from the room, not warm, not golden. Cold, pale, like moonlight filtered through a frozen lake. Jungkook stepped forward. And there he was. Jimin, standing in the center of the circle. His body was the same, but something shimmered around him, like smoke that refused to rise. His eyes, one was his. The other was pitch black, reflecting nothing. You still see me? Jimin asked quietly. Jungkook nodded, voice caught in his throat. Always. You're a fool. I've been worse. Jimin's lip quivered. I don't know how much longer I can keep him in. Then don't, Jungkook said. What? Don't hold him in alone. Before Jimin could stop him, Jungkook stepped into the circle. The moment his foot crossed the boundary, the world tilted. Wind rushed through the room, screams exploded in his ears, but he didn't stop. He reached Jimin, cupped his face, and whispered, Let me in, share it with me, we'll carry him together. Jimin's face contorted with emotion, with fear, with love. Then, black tendrils erupted from his chest. They struck Jungkook, digging into his skin like barbed wire. He screamed, but didn't let go. Blood poured from his mouth, from his ears, but his grip didn't loosen. Jimin was crying now. You idiot, I told you to leave. I won't, Jungkook gasped. If we go down together. And something changed. The darkness paused. The figure within Jimin flickered. Two souls, two hearts, sharing one burden. The room trembled. The darkness screamed, not in victory, but in confusion. And for the first time, Jimin smiled. Not the smile of the creature. His. Whole, real, human. I remember now, he said. The circle began to glow beneath them, not in shadow, but in fire. Old fire. The ancient kind. The kind that cleanses. Jungkook and Jimin held on to each other, their skin cracking, their bones shaking, their minds fraying at the edges of sanity. But they didn't let go. The entity shrieked in fury. And the walls began to collapse. The walls didn't just collapse, they wept, crumbling with a sound like bone being chewed. The ceiling above the containment chamber split open, revealing not rafters or insulation, but an impossible void. A black sky brimming with red stars, none of them fixed, all of them watching. Smoke flooded downward like a reversed drowning, and within that smoke came the thing. It clawed its way out of Jimin's back long, spindly limbs of midnight smoke and bone. Its face changed shape, shifting between versions of Jimin's face twisted in grief, fury, laughter, and something darker, something too ancient to name. But Jimin stood his ground, his body trembling, eyes wide but clear. Jungkook still held him, arms wrapped tightly, even as the thing arched behind them like a serpent about to strike. You don't belong here, Jimin said, voice steady despite the tremors in his jaw. I am here, the thing said in a tone layered with dozens of voices, Jimin's, Jungkook, doctors, nurses, patients long forgotten. You let me in, you gave me a name. Jimin's eyes narrowed. Then I'll take it back. Jungkook turned to him, blood still dripping from the corners of his mouth. How? I don't know, Jimin said, his lips twitching into a dry smile. But I think nomming it is what bound it to me. Maybe unnaming it, unmaking that moment, can cut it loose. Unmake the past, Jungkook laughed bitterly. Good luck with that. I saw something, Jimin said, stepping forward. When it was inside me, I saw everything. Not just the hospital, not just you and me, but the before, the real before. This hospital was built on something older, sacred, or maybe cursed. They knew what they were doing when they built room 309 above it. They weren't trying to contain evil, they were trying to harvest it. Jungkook blinked, shaking his head. The hospital board. No, higher than that. People who used to be people. The ones who walk in governments and religions, faceless and ageless. They needed a vessel to access what's buried beneath this place. And I was it. Jungkook's eyes widened. You're saying? They chose me because of my voice, Jimin whispered. Because the way I speak opens doors. He turned to the creature, now slithering along the walls, wrapping itself in a grotesque, elongated version of his own form. You fed on my anger, my grief, my guilt. You wear me like a mask. I am you, the thing said, voice echoing off every surface. I am the you that you tried to kill, the version you locked in a cell and starved in the dark. You're my shadow, Jimin replied, but I'm done running from you. He walked toward it, barefoot across the glowing circle, light flaring with each step. You said I named you, but I was forced to, strapped down, drugged, coerced. That doesn't change what you did. No, Jimin said, but it means I get to choose what happens next. The thing hissed. You cannot destroy me. I exist now. Even if you die, I'll live in the minds of the ones who touched this hospital, the ones who remember the scream, the ones who dream of a hallway with no end. Jungkook pulled himself up, eyes narrowing. But what if no one remembers? Jimin turned to him, heart pounding. What? You said the name gave it power, Jungkook said. So what if we erase it, erase the memory, not just yours, but everyone? Jimin stared, horrified. You mean wipe everything? Not just memory, Jungkook said. History. If this place goes, truly goes, then maybe it all unravels. Maybe it never existed. The creature's form twisted violently, tendrils lashing out. You'd erase yourselves to destroy me. Jimin stepped into the center of the circle and dropped to his knees. No, just the version of us that let this happen. From beneath the floor, fire erupted, not orange, not red, but blue. It licked the walls and whispered names never meant to be spoken. The circle began to close. The void above trembled. I remember you now, Jimin said to the creature. You were born the day I let go of myself, but I take it back. I take all of it back. The creature screamed, not in rage but terror. Jungkook staggered toward Jimin, reaching for him. If we do this, we lose everything. Who we are, what we meant to each other. Jimin looked at him, eyes filled with tears. Then tell me now, tell me what I was to you. You were everything, Jungkook choked. You still are. Jimin reached up, brushed a trembling hand across Jungkook's cheek. Then let this be the last thing we remember. They kissed, and the fire consumed them both. The hospital screamed. Not metaphorically. It screamed, a long, unearthly wail that cracked the earth around it. Lights exploded. Walls crumbled. The building twisted in on itself like paper burning backward. And then, silence. Nothing. A vast, yawning nothing. Somewhere, years later, in a town that no longer had any records of an abandoned hospital, a boy named Jimin awoke in a bed he didn't recognize. There were no machines, no metal tables, just morning light. He sat up, blinking. And down the hallway, someone was humming. A familiar tune. A lullaby. He turned. And there stood Jungkook. No scars, no shadows. Just a boy with kind eyes. Do I know you? Jimin asked. Jungkook smiled. Not yet. But this time, when they reached for each other, there were no screams. There was something wrong with the sunlight. It filtered in through the windows too perfectly, golden rays slicing the air like painted illusions. The dust in the room hung motionless, like time had forgotten how to move. Jimin sat upright in the unfamiliar bed, blinking rapidly as his heart raced without reason. The room was quiet, unnaturally so. Not the peaceful silence of safety, but the kind that rings in your ears like the air before a storm. He didn't remember checking into this place. He didn't remember waking up here before this morning. All he remembered was warmth, then cold, then a name. Jungkook. He whispered it aloud. It tasted familiar, like something he should cling to, something sacred, but he didn't know why. Yeah, came a voice from the door. Jimin turned sharply. There he was, that same boy from the hallway. Kind eyes, soft smile. A shadow behind him stretched longer than his body should have allowed, but Jimin blinked and it was gone. Jungkook stepped inside, holding a tray of tea. No blood, no cuts, just a plain, striped shirt and quiet presence. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, Jungkook said, but you called me. Jimin searched his face. We've met before. Jungkook smiled gently. Do you believe in dreams that leave something behind after you wake? Jimin looked away. I don't know what I believe. Jungkook placed the tea on the side table, his fingers brushing against Jimin's hand in passing. A jolt went through both of them. Déjà vu? Jungkook asked, sitting in the chair beside the bed. Jimin nodded slowly. It's like I've known you my whole life. But I don't even know my own name. You said it in your sleep, Jungkook replied. Park Jimin. Jimin froze. He hadn't told anyone that. Jungkook quickly added, I swear I didn't mean to, I just heard you murmuring and… No, it's okay, Jimin interrupted, though his voice trembled. It's just weird. Jungkook gave a short laugh. Yeah, weird. They sat in silence. Then Jimin turned to him. Are we in a hospital? Kind of. Rehabilitation center for trauma survivors. But this wing's empty, just us. Jimin frowned. Why just us? Jungkook hesitated. Then, as if making a decision, he leaned closer. Jimin, do you trust me? The way he said his name sent chills through Jimin's body, like it belonged to more than just him. I don't know, Jimin said honestly. That's fair, Jungkook said. But I need you to listen, something's off, about this place, about us. Jimin stiffened. What are you talking about? Tell me something, Jungkook whispered. What's the last thing you remember before waking up here? Jimin searched his mind. Static, then flashes, fire, screaming metal, hands, blood. A circle glowing on the floor. He clutched his temples. Hey, Jungkook said gently, breathe, it's okay. No, Jimin said, shaking his head. No, it's not. Something's wrong with this world, with me. Jungkook leaned closer. You're right. Jimin looked up. This place, Jungkook said, isn't real. Jimin felt the words ripple through his chest like a gunshot. What? We're not in a hospital, Jungkook continued. We're not even awake. Jimin stood abruptly, knocking the tea over. What the hell are you talking about? This is his world, Jimin, not ours. Jimin backed away. You're scaring me. Jungkook's expression twisted, pained. I didn't want to tell you like this. I thought maybe, if we stayed quiet, if we played along, he'd let us live in peace. But he's watching us again. Who is watching? The thing that called itself you. Jimin collapsed back onto the bed, his legs weak. No, we burned it. I remember fire. I remember killing it. You remember trying, Jungkook said softly, but it wasn't enough. Jimin's eyes brimmed with panic. Why can't I wake up? Because we're not asleep. We're trapped. Jimin's hands trembled. No, I can't do this again. I can't go back. I'll protect you, Jungkook said firmly. Just like before, but we need to find the cracks, the seams in this world. He's trying to rewrite reality, but he's not perfect. Cracks, Jimin whispered. Watch, Jungkook said. He stood and walked to the wall, placing his palm flat against it. Feel. Jimin joined him, his hand next to Jungkook's. The wall was warm. Too warm. Like a pulse. Jimin's breath caught. It's alive. Jungkook nodded. He stitched this world together using pieces of our minds. But minds aren't meant to be worlds. They leak. They forget. Suddenly, the wall twitched under their hands. A high-pitched laughter echoed from down the corridor. They turned. A boy stood there. A small, thin child with no eyes, just skin stretched over sockets. He grinned at them, mouth too wide. You forgot to forget, the boy said, giggling. Jimin stepped back. Who is that? One of the others, Jungkook whispered. Echoes left behind when the hospital collapsed. He's part of the loop. Loop. This world resets every time we get too close to remembering, like now. The boy opened his mouth. The walls screamed. And everything turned black. When Jimin opened his eyes again, he was back in the bed. Sunlight through the window, dust floating, tea tray beside him. Exactly as before. Jungkook knocked softly on the door. "Good morning," he said, smiling. "You're awake." But this time, Jimin didn't smile back. Because this time, he remembered. The tea was still warm. Too warm. And that smile on Jungkook's face, once comforting, now looked rehearsed. A script perfectly memorized. Every blink, every inflection, every detail down to the way he leaned against the doorway. He had done this before. Countless times. "How many loops has it been?" Jimin asked, his voice low, steady. Jungkook froze. The smile didn't vanish, but it cracked, like glass under pressure. His hand, holding the edge of the door, twitched. "You remember," Jungkook said quietly. Jimin stood. The warmth of the tea, the glow of sunlight, the faint hum of birds outside, it all tasted artificial now. False. This world was too clean. There were no shadows, no rot, no time. A dream forged from trauma and stitched together with memory. "Yes, I remember the fire, the scream, the circle, you, me, and him." Jungkook stepped into the room slowly, as if crossing a fragile bridge. "We have to be careful. He listens when we speak about him." "I'm done being careful," Jimin snapped. "I didn't survive the thing that wore my face to whisper anymore." Jungkook met his eyes. "Then let's end it, for real this time." "How?" Jungkook reached into his pocket and pulled out something small and black. A shard. No, not a shard, a fragment of memory. Solidified, still humming faintly with energy. It pulsed like a dying star. "The last piece of him," Jungkook said. "When the hospital collapsed and we burned him, part of him latched onto me. That's how he built this prison. He used me as the seed." Jimin recoiled. "You." "I didn't know until the first reset. I woke up just like you, but the loop didn't stop. And every time I got too close to the truth, the world reset again. Only, it took something from me each time." "What do you mean?" Jungkook's hands trembled as he held the fragment. "I don't know who I am outside of this anymore. My name, my real face. Everything has been hollowed out, fed to him. All that remains is you." Jimin's voice was barely a whisper. "Why didn't you destroy the shard?" "Because it's also the key," Jungkook said. "The final paradox. The thing that holds him and the thing that can unmake him, but it requires a sacrifice." Jimin's heart pounded. "Of what?" "Of everything," Jungkook said. "The real world, the real us. If we destroy this piece, this loop will unravel completely. No more memories, no more echoes, you and I gone, not dead, unwritten, like we never existed." Jimin looked at the fragment. "And if we do?" "We stay, caged in this dream. Forever, he'll keep resetting us, playing us against each other, making us relive the guilt, the pain, the betrayal." Jimin stepped forward. "So we burn it." Jungkook's eyes searched his. "Even if it means losing everything we were." Jimin smiled, soft, sad. "We already lost everything." He reached out, cupping Jungkook's hand around the shard. "Do it together," Jimin whispered. Jungkook nodded. They pressed their palms together. The shard burned white-hot. And the world screamed. The illusion shattered instantly. The room peeled away in ribbons of light and ash. The floor vanished. The sky above ripped open, revealing the gaping black nothing that had always waited beneath the dream. Jimin felt everything dissolve, his body, his name, the weight of every memory. There was no pain, only release, like the breath after drowning. Beside him, Jungkook's voice was the last thing he heard. "Thank you for finding me again." And then, silence. No loop. No dream. No hospital. No names. Just peace. Somewhere in a world that never knew a room 309, two strangers passed each other in a busy train station. One wore headphones, the other clutched a sketchbook. For a fleeting second, their eyes met. A flicker. Recognition. Perhaps. They smiled, soft, instinctual, and kept walking, never looking back, because there was no darkness to run from anymore, only light.